Hey guys, welcome to Conversations and Libations with Adora. So, today is going to be kind of a different video. Um, I got a little mini story time in this video because I had something somewhat similar happen that unfortunately happened to Breonna Taylor. So, today's video, we're going to talk about Breonna Taylor, the young woman who was shot and killed in her home. And also, we are going to talk about Ahmaud Arbery, which both of these stories have been all over the news, all over social media. So, I am sure that you guys know the details, but we're going to just summarize it a little bit for those who may not know. Also, I will be mentioning Katherine Johnson. Her case is really old. She was shot and killed in 2006 in Atlanta, Georgia by police. She was 92 years old. I'm not sure if you guys remember that story or have heard of that story, but I'll be referencing that as well. So in addition to talking about those three stories, I just want to kind of talk about how I'm feeling right now. And maybe you guys are kind of feeling the same. And maybe we can kind of, I don't know, discuss it. I don't know if we'll feel better or maybe if this conversation will just kind of get us thinking a little bit. But just, I don't know about you guys, but I'm just feeling kind of hopeless, as a Black woman, as a Black person. I'm just kind of feeling hopeless in America right now with everything that's going on. And I've been feeling this way for a while, but it's just like every time you hear one of these cases, it just gets to you. So I have on my glasses, no makeup. Guys, I can't even put on makeup and do myself up right now. Yeah. So anyways, we'll start off with Ahmaud. Rest in peace to him, and prayers definitely to his family. Anytime I hear one of these type of cases of an unarmed Black man being, killed, it breaks my spirit because I have a father, whom I love, that's a Black man. I have two brothers who are Black men. I have a boyfriend who's a Black man. And me and my dad were talking about this yesterday, and he was just saying how every time he hears one of these stories, it just crushes him because he thinks about, his sons. I have a brother that is 34 years old. He's very tall. He's probably like 6'4", 6'5". He's, thin, like basketball player build, the sweetest guy, but he's going to be intimidating because of his height, because of his color. Even though he's never been in trouble, he could be in one of these situations. A crazy citizen thinking they're making a citizen's arrest, or a police officer. I have a baby brother. Oh my God. The sweetest, most well-mannered, most well-spoken, never been in trouble. My parents stayed on his behind, but he's dark-skinned. He has dreads, which my dad was so against him getting ear piercings and dreads, and now he wants tattoos. And my dad is like, I don't want you to be profiled. And I'm like, Dad, he's going to be profiled regardless if he had a low haircut, no earrings, because he's a tall, dark-skinned Black male. He's intimidating. Now, he's like 6'2", 6'3". He's not even 18 years old yet. And he plays football in college. So he's not big, he's not that big, but he's tall. He'll overshadow you. And I remember when we took him to school, he ended up going to college in one of these little country towns in Georgia. You guys, I remember being so scared dropping my little brother off at college, because I'm like, oh God, he's in this country town. You know, y'all know the type of officers that be in them country towns. And I don't want anything to happen to my baby brother. Like, I would be crushed. And coincidentally, his first year, he would drive back and forth from Atlanta to where he goes to school, which is about 2 hours away. And he got caught speeding. Him and his friends were in the car, and they got caught speeding on the way back. And they were in this town, and thank God it's not a news story. But the police officer, thankfully, was pretty nice from what I understand, and just gave him a ticket. I think they probably saw, because he has like a sticker on his car that says he goes to that school, he plays football or whatever. And so I think the police officer saw that. But it could have went really wrong, because it was him in the car, and it was his roommate and his best friend in the car. They all play football. They're all black males. So, thank goodness. And pretty much my mom had to go there, and everybody in that town, she made it known, like, hey, when we dropped him off, she made it known to pretty much everybody on the campus, this is my son, he plays football, don't F with my son, because we don't want one of those stories, in our family. So that's really scary. But anyways, going on to, and like I said, y'all, we're going to be talking about some everything. I'm going to try not to be all over the place. But, so, again, every time I hear one of these stories, my soul is crushed. As I said in my introduction video, at one time I wanted to be a civil rights activist. So, I'm very passionate when it comes to these type of things. And actually, two of the activist radio hosts in Atlanta, Georgia, which, no matter where you live, I always try to tell people about this station. It's called 1380 WAOK. It's an AM station. You can download the radio.com app. And two shows in particular that I listen to, well, three. I listen to Rashad Ritchie in the morning. He's awesome. And then in the evening, like 4 to 7, I sometimes listen to Derek Bozeman. He's great too. Both of them are activists. And they have a news talk show. So anything that's going on within the black community, you're going to hear it there. And then also Al Sharpton comes on at 1 o'clock. And sometimes I do listen to Al Sharpton's show. So if I'm not listening to a podcast in my car, I'm normally listening to Black News Talk Radio. And that's how I'm always, so informed. But they put together a caravan this weekend, and they drove down to Brunswick. Of course, we're all supposed to be social distancing, so everybody got in their cars. They drove to Brunswick, and they had like a little protest or whatever. And from what I understand, Ahmaud's mom and family showed up too. And my dad and I actually were talking about, like, dang, we were so busy on Saturday. We had already had prior family plans, but really we wanted to go down there. And I know we're supposed to be social distancing, but I feel like, heck, people are doing all kind of stuff. They're going to the clubs, they're going to the bars, they're going out to eat. They are standing in the line for Jordans, going to the malls. So, if we can do all that, then we can definitely practice social distancing and go down there and protest with the family for a good cause. But unfortunately, we did not make it. But yeah, so the Ahmaud Arbery, I just think it's just sad, you guys. Like, I know there was a video. I couldn't bring myself to watch the video. I still haven't seen the video. The details were enough. But I just think it's insane how white people, and I'm just being honest, not trying to offend anyone, but the truth is the truth. And if you're offended, then you may need to do something to change it in your community. But I find it crazy how white people feel like they can police black people, even when you're not the police. Like, you think you ask us a question and we're supposed to answer you, or you confront us and we're supposed to answer you. Like the video with the delivery driver. I'm sure you guys have seen that. The delivery driver that was trying to get out of the gated community and stood there for 45 minutes arguing with a white guy who's supposedly president of the House of Association, demanding his information. Where you coming from? How you getting here? dude, I'm delivering a package. How about you ask the person I delivered how I got in here? I had to have a gate code. And honestly, if I was him, I would sue the hell out of him and the HOA. And then the guy had the nerve to call the black driver's workplace to tell him to take down the video. Absolutely not. We all need to see how freaking disgusting you are. And for you to have such privilege and entitlement to think that you can tell someone to take something down, maybe you shouldn't have acted like an asshole. But anyways, so it's just crazy to me how, the father and the son, they pretty much hunted Aubrey down. They didn't even live in the neighborhood. They lived 11 miles away. So why the hell are you guys following this black man who's jogging, trying to be healthy, trying to exercise? You guys follow him. Of course, if someone is following you and they block you in, you're going to try to defend yourself, if you can't run away from the situation. And of course, we all know they're going to try to use self-defense. But I'm so tired of people going after people and then trying to use self-defense. How are you defending yourself when you came for me? How about you leave me alone and you wouldn't have to defend yourself? How about Aubrey was defending himself because you guys went after him? And my dad and I were talking, and he was saying that he thinks this case is going to be different. He thinks that we're going to get justice. Ahmaud's family is going to get justice because if not, Georgia is going to be riots. And me and my boyfriend are like, I don't have any faith in the system. We're just going to be mad like we always are. We're going to bitch and moan, get on social media, and nothing is going to change. And I'm not saying that, trying to say we should do more, because honestly, I know we should do more, but what do we do? Like, what can we do? And, it just reminds me of when I heard about Ahmaud Arbery, it just reminded me of Trayvon Martin. Oh my goodness, you guys. I don't know how many days I cried with the Trayvon Martin thing because my brother was young at the time. And like I said, cases like this, I always see my brother. And I remember where I was when the verdict was read. I was at my parents' house. And I just remember when they read not guilty, I boo-hooed. Oh my God, you guys, I cried. And I'm just like, it's one thing for you guys to shoot and kill us, but we can't even get justice. Our families can't even get justice. They can't even get some type of closure. It's like a double slap in the face, and then it disgusts me how you have pigs who donated to George Zimmerman, because y'all know he can't work, but he's still out here thriving and surviving, donations. And just like Aubrey's, killers. Next thing you know, there's GoFundMe's and stuff popping up for them, which just tells you this is America. The same people that you work with are the same people who defend people like the killers of Aubrey. These are the same people that are donating to them. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I am tired of trying to coexist in a space with privilege, entitlement, and racism. I'm freaking tired. Today I was driving and I made it to a four-way stop, and there was a car that made it there seconds before me. And I actually was pulling up to the stop sign to stop. But apparently the guy didn't think I was going to stop. And so he raises his hands and he's all upset. And I'm like, he's a white guy. Mind you, he didn't even stop at the stop sign. He just went through. It's simple crap like that. You know what I mean? I was so pissed with everything else that's going on. And then it's just like this simple stuff with their entitlement. Like, you're mad at me because you think I'm about to run the stop sign and not let you go first. But I'm actually stopping and you don't want to run the stop sign. But of course, we're always wrong no matter what. Even when they're wrong, we're wrong. So anyways, back to Ahmaud Arbery. I don't know how much more I can say because, like I said, it's been all over social media. But I just wanted to dedicate a little time to him. And I'm hoping that his death won't be in vain. And yeah, I just want Black people to start getting justice. It's just like Kendrick Johnson, who passed a few years ago. That case broke me down. I don't know if you guys remember that case. That's the guy who, the young guy who was in high school, and he was found pretty much beaten and rolled up in a gym mat. at his school, and to this day, no one has been convicted. They claim that he fell off the bleachers, but how you fall off the bleachers and you're perfectly rolled up into a gym mat, and you have bruises, and you don't even look like yourself, and his parents never found out what happened. That just totally broke my heart. And then when his parents ended up getting his body, all his organs were gone. Where the hell has my child organs gone? He's not an organ donor. I'm just so tired of Black people just being disregarded and our lives not mattering and our lives being disregarded. It's just depressing, and you just feel hopeful because you're like, when is this going to stop? From enslavement, Jim Crow, lynchings, modern day lynchings. It's so many names that you can't even say them all, memory, all these. And then it's like, we know about this because social media. Like, if it wasn't for social media, Ahmaud Arbery's the murderers wouldn't be in jail. How do you kill someone and you get to go home and sleep at night? And I'm sure they slept just fine. And if it wasn't for the freaking video and us making outrage about it, nothing would have happened to these men, So again, prayers to him and his family. And if I keep looking down, guys, I'm sorry. I did have to take a few notes on the Catherine Johnston case because, again, that happened in 2006. So I had to kind of refresh my memory. But moving on to Breonna Taylor. So this one hit me, and it hit me for a few reasons. First of all, she was a black, beautiful young woman. And secondly, I had a situation similar happen to me, which, thank God, I'm still here. But I suffered PTSD for a while. And I want to talk about Breonna first, and then I'll kind of tell you guys what happened to me. Of course, I don't want to make this video about me, but I just want to let you guys know these type of things happen. So Breonna Taylor, of course, she was shot and killed in her home by officers. Officers apparently came to her house with a warrant. They didn't have to announce themselves, and it's 1 a.m. So you hear banging on your door. Of course, a lot of times when you're waking up out of your sleep, you're scared, you're disoriented, you're trying to figure out what's going on, fight or flight kicks in. So that's what happened. And her boyfriend, who was licensed to carry, thought someone was breaking in. And because, of course, the police didn't announce themselves, and he fired his shots, which legally, someone is breaking into your home, or so you think. Legally, you're able to defend yourself and defend your home, and you have a license to carry. And, of course, the officers blindly shot 20 times into the apartment. And I think they said about 8 shots hit Breonna and she died. And what saddens me is that I don't feel like Breonna died peacefully. Like, I feel like, and I'm trying not to cry, you guys, because I'm pretty sensitive. I should have had me some tissues here. But I feel like Breonna was terrified before she died, because I'm quite sure that she heard the knocks on the door first, the banging on the door, which terrified her and woke her out of her sleep. I'm quite sure, and let's not forget, her boyfriend did call the police, okay? Did call 911. So this man really did think someone was breaking into his home. And before any ignorant person gets into the comments, well, he should have waited for 911. No, because if you have a gun and you can legally defend yourself, you're not going to wait for no damn police. You're going to start busting, which is what he did. And I'm sure that she heard the exchange of gunfire. I'm sure she was terrified. And 8 times, it's just, it's a sad way to go. It's scary. And the crazy thing about it is, Breonna was an EMT, so she was an essential employee. And in this times that we're in with the C word, I don't think I can say it on YouTube, but you guys know the virus. Her being an EMT, her being on the front lines, she was probably afraid of catching the virus and dying. Nowhere did she ever think that she was going to die at the hands of police gunfire. Just think about that. And what's crazy is the officers have been reassigned until the investigation is over, yet none of them were injured. Breonna's dead. Yet the boyfriend, who legally had a license to carry, he was locked up and he's arrested. And the part that bothers me is this didn't have to happen because they went to the wrong home. And the guy that they were looking for was already in custody. So clearly somewhere you guys are not communicating in that city. Like, this man is already arrested. Why are you guys going to the wrong home? The trap house that they were supposed to go to or were supposed to be investigated was 11 miles away from where Breonna lived. So yeah, there was a no-knock warrant. They didn't announce themselves. And, you know, Breonna and the suspect that they were looking for, they did previously date for 2 years, but that was 2 years prior. And in no way am I saying this is Breonna's fault at all, but women, we have to be careful of the men that we're dating. And I mentioned this in my breakup video. Like, you don't know what, if you don't know what that person is into, you could get caught up in any type of situation. Say they were still dating and this man was in her house. This could have happened, or someone could have tried to go after him because he's into drugs. Like, ladies, just please know, you know, who you're dating. But in this case, Breonna wasn't even with this guy, you know, and she was shot. And when I say something similar happened to me, this was about maybe 2014. And sorry y'all, my dog. This was about 2014. And I remember I was on the phone with my ex-boyfriend at the time. It was probably like 2:33 in the morning. I lived by myself, a single woman. And all I hear is banging, banging, banging on the door. You guys, I'm already a scary person. I am freaking terrified because the bangs were so loud. And because it was the police, but at the time I didn't know it, because they weren't announcing themselves, I was terrified. My dog was barking. I'm trying to calm him down. It was so loud. I was in my room, which was in the back, and my boyfriend at the time, he heard it. And he's like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, there's banging at the door. I don't know what to do." And so I sat there in silence for like a few seconds because I'm trying to think, like, what do I do? What do I do? So I said, I got to get out of here, because I'm thinking in my mind, somebody's trying to break into my home. Like, it never crossed my mind that it was the police, because naturally I'm like, if it's the police, they're going to announce themselves. And I'm like, well, maybe people are like, who knocks to break into a home? But when you're stunned like that, you just don't know. And I'm like, well, maybe they're knocking to see if somebody's home. Maybe they're knocking and I open the door and they bum rush me, try to kill me, whatever. So I had two doors. I had a front door to my apartment and a back door. They were knocking on the front door. So when you come out the back door, there's a hill and the cars parallel park. So where my car was parked at, it was at the top of the hill. So I would have to go out the back door, make a right. So I wouldn't see like what's going on the street or whatever. So I get my dog and I quietly get my keys, because I'm like, oh my God, if somebody's trying to break in, I have to get out of here. At this time, I'm not thinking maybe there's people at the front door, maybe there's the back door. You're just trying to get out. So I get my dog, trying to keep him calm, quiet. He won't quiet, so I'm like, ugh, I gotta leave you in here because you're gonna blow my cover and I'm gonna have to come back and get you and pray that nothing happens. So I go out the back door. As soon as I go out the back door and make a right, a woman is like, put your hands up, where are you going? And I'm like, oh my God. And so this was like around all of those police shootings and stuff. So the first thing I'm thinking is, oh my God, she's about to shoot me in my back, because she thinks I'm fleeing when really I think somebody's breaking into my house. You guys, I feel like the only reason, two reasons that I was not shot and killed. One, God, because he looks out for fools and babies. Two, because she was a black woman. And so when she told me to put my hands up and turn around, I turned around and she's like, where are you going? And I'm like, I thought somebody was trying to break into my house. Like, I'm about to leave. She's like, go back in the house. Now, mind you, so freaking unprofessional, still has not announced herself. Yes, she did have on a police uniform. So she's like, go back in the house and go open the front door, because there was another police officer at the front door. So I'm going into the house. As I'm going into the house, she's following me. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what this is about. I'm an upstanding citizen. I've never been in trouble. I just graduated college. I'm a college graduate, and which I think ticked her off when I said that. And so I opened the door, and there was a man at the front door as a police officer. They made me sit down on the couch, and they said they had a warrant for some guy's arrest. And I'm like, who? They say his name. I'm like, I don't know who that is. And they're like, do you have a boyfriend? I'm like, yes. They're like, let us see a picture. So they see a picture. Clearly it's not him. I see a picture of the guy to see if I recognize, I don't know who this person is. Then they start going around my apartment. Now, in situations like, yes, they had a warrant, but you know your rights. But when a situation like that happens, you're not really thinking, you're just trying to comply. And it's funny because when they left, I'm like, oh my God, were these really police officers, or were they just dressed up? Because they were so unprofessional. And they ended up leaving, and I was so terrified, you guys. I could not sleep for like months. I had PTSD. Like anytime I would hear a knock, I was terrified. And I remember calling the police department. Oh, and then come to find out they were at the wrong apartment. Okay, which they admitted. So I called the police to make a complaint, and you know what he told me? He's like, oh, this happens all the time. We always go to the wrong house. Welcome to the city of Atlanta. So that brings me to Katherine Johnston. Before I say that, once the police left, I cleaned and I searched my entire apartment because I was afraid that they had planted drugs in my apartment, because I don't freaking trust the police. Which brings me to Katherine Johnston, because when that happened to me, I had remembered her case prior, which is why I cleaned and searched my whole apartment to make sure they didn't plant no freaking drugs. So Katherine Johnston was a 92-year-old woman. She was shot and killed by police officers in 2006. 3 officers came to her home. They were dressed in plain clothes, but they did have on bulletproof vests. It was later considered to be a drug bust that went wrong. Now, Katherine Johnston lived in a part of town where it's kind of a rough area. There was a lot of break-ins and stuff like that, and she was known to keep a rusty old gun. And 2 years prior to this incident, this tragically horrible incident, she had gotten burglar bars and stuff put on her home to protect herself. She lived by herself. And the officers, they cut off the burglar bars and they broke down her door. And the article said using a no-knock warrant. Don't quote me on that. But I'm assuming they didn't knock if they had to cut down her, cut the burglar bars and break down the door. So Johnston, of course, terrified, scared, literally someone is breaking into her home. She gets her gun. She fires 1 shot and it goes over the officer's head. So in turn, the officers end up firing 39 shots. Yes, they fired 39 shots. And they say 5 or 6 shots hit her. Now, not only did they shoot and kill this woman that was 92 years old, that could have been my grandma or your grandmother, okay? You would think that automatically when they figure out they're at the wrong house and they just shot this 92-year-old woman, they would be freaking remorseful, freaking terrified of what they just did, freaking horrified of what they just did. But were they? No. Instead, they try to cover their behinds, and one of the officers plants marijuana in her house. And investigators later find paperwork stating that the drugs that were found in her home, which was the basis for the raid, were falsified. Also, police lied that an informant bought drugs from Miss Johnston's home. And the officers were later convicted and tried for manslaughter. And guys, they did get time, but they only got 5, 6, and 10 years. This happened in 2006. So the one who got the most years, he has been out of jail for about 4 years now. This woman was 92 years old. I don't understand how you only get 5, 6, 10 years for A, killing someone, and B, you plant drugs in their house to cover your ass. And then you went to the wrong home. So when the police came to my place, I thought about that. And yeah, I had to sweep my apartment because I didn't know if the police had planted drugs in my apartment or not. And this is what I'm talking about. This is what enrages me. Like, we're done wrong and you guys still find a way to make it our fault. You guys still try to cover your ass, you know? And so it just got me to thinking, like, how do you guys feel? Because I know right now I'm feeling kind of hopeless. It's kind of like, you know, if it's not being shot unarmed, then it's this freaking virus that is taking Black people out at the largest percentage. You know, we're dying from it because, you know, we have, you know, a lot of us don't have health care. Those who do have health care, we are discriminated a lot when it comes to health care, when it comes to going to the hospital. You know, Black people are discriminated, so we're not receiving the same care. And because we have food deserts in the neighborhoods we live in, we can't really, you know, get healthy, fresh fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. So a lot of us have, you know, diabetes or high blood pressure. It's just so much against us. And it's just like, battling with so much, you know, like so much heaviness. And even with this virus thing, then we're going to have to worry about being, you know, going into a depression as far as the economy. And of course, Black people, we're going to be hit the hardest because whenever America catches a cold, Black people catch the flu. So I don't know. Guys, the only thing that keeps me pushing and keeps me just, I don't even know whether to say hopeful, but just keeps me somewhat going, is thinking about what those before me and, you know, my ancestors endured. Like, they endured enslavement and they came out on the other side. They endured Jim Crow and lynchings and they came out on the other side. And, you know, every generation goes through something. And, you know, this is what we're going through now, and we're going to come out on the other side too. And I'm not a like religious person as far as organized religion, but I am a very spiritual person, and I do believe in a higher power, and I do refer to him as God because I was raised as a Christian. And I just, you know, I know personally that he does protect you, and you just have to pray and believe in him. And of course, you got to put action to that as well. You can't put everything in prayer because, you know, you have to follow it up as well. You have to use discernment. You have to try to stay safe. And, you know, my boyfriend and I were with my family yesterday and we were having a talk, and I was talking to my brother that's 35 and his baby mom, because I have a beautiful little nephew, and the baby mom also has a child that's not my brother's. And I was asking them, like, how do you guys raise a young Black man in this world? Like, what are you gonna tell them? Like, how are you gonna teach them? Because her son is 6 and her and my brother's son, you know, he'll be 2 in September. And she was like, you know, I try to let my son know the real, but I don't want him to be fearful or intimidated by white people. But it's kind of like, it has to be hard raising a son, you know. And my friends and my boyfriend, they say I'm so paranoid. But, you know, my boyfriend, I just feel like sometimes he's a little oblivious. And he is, you know, he wears glasses, he's tall, he's dark skinned, but in his field, he works around a lot of white people, grew up around a lot of white people, and he knows how to navigate in those circles. And he's a non-threatening black man. Like, he's the type of black man you would think he was like an accountant or something. He's the type that they're not really threatened by, but of course he's black, so they could still. So sometimes he puts himself in situations where I'm like, you can't do that, you know. Like, I remember one night we jog at night. This was like 2 years ago. We were jogging down Peachtree in Buckhead, which is an affluent neighborhood, and he wanted to go through this neighborhood with houses, and it was dark. And I'm like, no, because I'm afraid of being shot. Like, I don't want anybody to think we're breaking into a home and we're just jogging. Mind you, this was like 2 years ago. And so even when it comes to, like, he also does photography. So we live in an area that can be predominantly white. It's pretty much mixed, but he likes to go out late because the lighting is right with the moon and stuff around 1 o'clock to take pictures. And I'm so terrified. I'm like, no, you can't go, because all I need is for a police officer to roll up on you, which last week one did, and thankfully the police officer did not shoot him at 1 a.m, but told him that he couldn't be out there because he was at some park where there's like a lake or something. And I'm just like, you have to move, you know, better. And he tells me, he's like, I'm not oblivious. I know racism, you know, exists. I remember being young, and I remember a teacher trying to hold me back because I was black. And then I got tested and I was put in honors, you know, class after they tested me. And it's funny because when you talk to some black people, everybody kind of remembers their first taste of racism, or when it's kind of like, are you doing this because I'm black? And I don't remember a lot of things, but I do remember the first time I felt racism or racial discrimination. And I was about 7 years old. And my parents, of course, you know, they raised me to do chores and stuff like that. And so my mom was like, you know, you take out the trash. And we were living in an apartment. And I took the trash out, and I drug the trash to the dumpster. And I, you know, it was too heavy because I was 7, I was short. I was probably like between 7 and 10. And I remember that I could not lift the trash because it was so heavy. And I remember this white man, you know, screaming at me across the street from his apartment. He's like, what are you doing? You're not going to leave that trash at the dumpster. And I'm like, what? And so he comes over. He's like, no, you don't leave trash at the dumpster. You put the trash in the dumpster. And I'm like, but it's too heavy for me. He's like, no, you will not leave until you put trash at the dumpster. And so I don't know if I comply because he was white or if I comply because he was an adult. Because kids nowadays don't have respect for older people, but we were raised to have respect. And I remember struggling and crying, trying to lift this trash over my head to get it in the dumpster. And he just stood there. He did not help me. He just stood there like he was teaching me a lesson. And I remember going back into the house, and I was tears coming down my eyes. And my mom was like, what's going on? I told my mama what's going on. Child, my mom ain't nothing to play with. You hear me? Nothing to play with, okay? My mama went outside, marched outside. The man was still outside. When I tell y'all, she cursed him the F out and threatened to beat his ass if he ever, okay? That's how my mama is. And we ain't have no problems with him after that. So, anyways, I know this was kind of long, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And, well, not enjoy it because it wasn't anything to enjoy. But hopefully, I don't know, if you guys are feeling some kind of way, hopefully this discussion made you guys feel a little better or just makes you guys think a little bit. But anyways, please like, comment, and subscribe to this video. Please, you know, let's get the dialogue going. Tell me, how do you feel about Breonna, Ahmaud? Have you ever had any incident with the police, whether it was a bad traffic stop or them coming to your house when they weren't supposed to? When was the first time you felt racial discrimination? Let's talk about it below. Bye, guys.